Welcome to Go For Side Effects. I'm your host, Kevin Simon. Y'all know my co-host, John. John, how
Hey,
you
everyone.
doing tonight?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Y'all know our round table, Wade and Sarah. And Tina, who has joined our round table, wasn't able to be on tonight, but she'll be on next round table. We have our special guest, Gavin, that we've had on before. If y'all haven't seen the show, he's from the United Kingdom. He was another Army damn person. And, I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get it. You're wearing army green and all y'all shaved your damn heads. Did I not get a memo?
Did I know?
Kind
You
of
can
sublime.
shave your head next week.
Well, no, I ain't shaving my head. I did that one, a big old egghead. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about several subjects, and I want to kind of get on because we're going to make this about a 45-minute night. And so, John, you were wanting to talk specific things, and I know Wade also and Sarah, but I want to first start with Gavin because he's got new news out of United Kingdom. And Gavin, what's been going on, buddy?
Well, as you can see, I've got quite a big beam on my face. We asked basically the number one professor in the UK, who's a mathematician, risk and probability guy, to look at. Do you remember when we discussed before about that the 36 nations deployed? There was more than 36 nations deployed, but there was the 36 nations with over 100 troops. So we focused on 36 nations, and then 5 were subjected to the immunization program. And then these 5 nations had the high levels of sickness. So we put to him, what are the probabilities of the 5 nations that had these high levels of sickness? I mean, really high levels of sickness, 30% plus, being the same 5 nations that had the immunization program. Because we was thinking ourselves, with a lottery, you get 40 balls or something, and you got to choose 5 or 6 balls right, and obviously normally it's millions to one. So we're not mathematicians, so we put it to the number one guy, and his conclusions came out basically that it was 1.25 million to 1 chance that the ill people were not injured by the vaccines. I think I'll explain that as simple as I can. It's quite a complex report because you can understand these mathematicians when they do their workings out. It's 0.00036 times this, blah 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 blah. But the conclusions were, close to impossible. That many people were injured by many other things. Hopefully, I've explained that in a simple sort of format. He likened it to being struck by lightning in the next 6 months. He says that's the equivalent of 1.25 million, and that's the best case scenario for governments. So extremely, extremely, extremely unlikely. We're talking about the high levels of the illnesses. I mean, there would have been other people out there who got injured by stuff like the other nations, up to 2%. And I think this is where the problems were caused over the past 30 years. I think you might remember me talking about the Spartacus effect. I'm ill, I'm Spartacus, I'm ill. So different people ill, and maybe ill of different things. However, 2% is still a lot of people. So within that bracket, you could have had people injured by pesticides, by fuel, by burning pits, whatever. However, it's this extra increase of 28% in all the other nations that it wasn't there in the unvaccinated, in the unimmunized nations. So it's very damning, and it's gone a bit of a frenzy in the UK around this when it came out today, basically, a couple of hours earlier.
And that's the one thing about it. It's like the Desert Storm vets. You know, all of us who were out there, and even the ones who didn't go. You know, a lot of us have the same injuries, but I did notice one thing. So I was talking to a guy tonight before we came on. Actually, I cut his hair, and me and him were talking. He was talking about there was a group of Marines that was on the border. I forgot what. It's just above Kuwait. It's in Kuwait and Iraq. And them guys, you know, had to call in the USS Missouri to bomb and push Iraqis back, and they went back. But he said between the Scud missiles, the vaccines, and every single thing that we were given out there, it's a high probability that all the mixtures created what most of our gastro problems are. He said now the nerve problems he believes probably came from either vaccine, the P-tabs, or people who were sprayed with sarin gas. And so he had a whole mixture of the odds and everything. And that fascinated me when you were giving me that number, because I know quite a few people that have looked up and said that they got the bad batch of the vaccines. Like there's like you literally you can look it up and it will tell you. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, we heard of the tainted vaccines. We think that's a bit of a smokescreen because you would have seen it wherever those batches were. There'd have been a more concentrate of ill soldiers, and that wasn't seen. That's not on the record. It's fairly spread out. There's no, you know, this unit really suffered more than any other. So anything that's sort of thrown out there, it can be eliminated. We did that before in our own investigations through a process of elimination. And you always have to refer to the 31 nations that didn't have these vaccines. That sort of eliminates most things. Yeah, and you know.
So Gavin, what does that mean for you guys there in your neck of the woods? What does that help you all with?
Well, we've already got a legal case built, ready to go. There's been some meetings with government in recent weeks, and there's also another meeting going on in a few weeks' time. So, and also there was the Veterans Minister had some so-called experts in. We don't agree that they're experts on Gulf War, but and he came out of that meeting saying the same old thing, nothing new. However, this is a bombshell for them to deal with, because it's not like I say when they came out with the sarin study. This is mathematics. It's something totally different, which can't be argued through science. It can only be argued by another mathematician. You know what I mean? You've got your sums wrong, and it's very unlikely the top guy in the UK has got his sums wrong.
Okay. So is this for your country? You think this will? I mean, for us here in the United States, we've been told so many different things. It's our political figures. They brush everything under the carpet, and they wouldn't necessarily care unless they were the ones that put forward the information. They would take that and go, meh, you know, even if they paid for their own tests, you know, which we've had. You know, we've had our own government testing for one case not that long ago. Wade mentioned it. You know, we've talked about it about nerve agent, and I would say, yeah, but then our own government who asked for the test won't acknowledge what the professor came up with. You know, it's like, or they may, and then they want to blame it. Oh yes, no, it was absolutely nerve agent, so they can do away with any other probability of there being an issue. You know, so I mean that's what happens here. but I don't know
Was
what it necessarily means for the United Kingdom.
but Wade, was that with Dr. Hurley? Am I saying his name right? Out of Dallas?
Haley.
Haley.
Dr. Haley with the,
I got the H
yeah,
part right.
Yeah, you got the H. Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course.
the H is good.
But we
Yeah,
haven't heard
that's-
any more about him, have we?
No, nope. And that's that I was just discussing that a little bit earlier with somebody about he comes out with the conclusive that Sarin nerve agent is the sole culprit to Gulf War illness, and goodbye he is. But yeah,
we contacted
don't
him
you?
2 or 3
It's,
times, and he's not responded. That's how confident he is with his study. We know he's on the
Oh, he
book.
didn't respond.
No,
Huh.
no.
Well, ain't that a
Gavin,
shocker?
Gavin, besides the numbers, what other discoveries has the UK group determined as to what is the possible cause of these vaccines creating this cellular damage? What are they hypothesizing is occurring?
Are you asking within the vaccine regime itself?
If it is the vaccines causing these illnesses, what cellular damage have they discovered that these vaccines are causing? What do they believe is the culprit? Is it this adjuvants in place in these vaccines? Is it the possibility of multiple vaccines at once? Is it all the above? Is there a genetic anomaly? What
Yeah,
is their
we
hypothesis?
cannot narrow it down 100% to one thing within the vaccine regime. It one thing is the squalene. There's another unnamed adjuvant that they were testing pertussis, whooping cough vaccine. And then you said that the multiple vaccines, the amount of vaccines. But yeah, I mean, we believe that they've overdosed. They were testing dosage levels for different systems for adjuvants. We were the guinea pigs. I think I might have spoke briefly last time. I was on about a guy called Jack Melling. We found him testing squalene in the HIV vaccine and the flu vaccine. He was also on Congress, and he advised Congress. He was an advisor to Congress, and he advised them in 2000 to stop looking for the cause of Gulf War illnesses. So we thought, that's a little bit strange. This is where we started tracking him and tracing him. And we found that then he'd been meddling with squalene and he got a flu vaccine to market. There's one in the, I'm not sure how many of these vaccines are in the US, but we know there's one in the UK market. So we tracked him back further, and we found him he was the head of the development of the vaccines at Porton Down, which is your Fort Detrick. Really. Is it Derrick or Fort Derrick or Fort Detrick?
Fort Devon?
Yeah.
Fort Diedrich. Fort Diedrich.
Fort
Oh,
Detrick.
Diedrich.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our equivalent in the UK, Porton Down, he was the head of the development of the vaccines there between 1988 and 1992. He, we believe, caused these Gulf War illnesses, playing with dosage levels, creating adjuvant systems using squalene. That is the most likely, because and we've only found this out over the last few months, tracking him down. So, yeah, but in UK law, we do not need to prove if it was the squalene, if it was this, if it was that. All we need to prove is if it was the vaccine regime. It's not our problem, you know.
Okay, but here's my question. How are they going to actually know? Do we have some of the vaccines still around to test?
And like I say, it doesn't matter in the UK law that we can easily prove 100% it was the vaccine regime that increased the levels of illnesses in the 5 nations by approximately 28%
Okay.
plus. So
Now, so Gavin, they're in the UK, so humor me because I simply don't know the answer to the question. Like here in the US, if we're service connected for a disability, we get compensated monetarily speaking. And of course, we get, if we so choose, we can use our VA medical. Is that the same situation there in the UK?
Yeah, there's compensation schemes and war pensions. The war pensions was our era. The compensation schemes are a new thing, relatively new, but they are not at fault. This is whereas injuries, they're at fault for them. It's a lack of duty of care by them. They've been negligent from start to finish, basically.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who's not at fault?
No.
So you're
The war pensions and I think it's called the AFCS scheme. They're not at fault schemes. So as long as you're in service and you're injured, you can apply for those pensions things. Yeah. Now it's totally different to an at fault compensation. What are your losses if it's ended your career? If it's caused you a lot of problems throughout your life? Then they don't compensate for that, and that is called an at-fault compensation, and you can only get that by having an out-of-court settlement or taking them to court.
Okay, but y'all don't have a VA system like we do, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I learned that because I had another guest on, and he was telling me, he goes, we don't have a VA system like the United States does, where the vets can go to their doctors there. Y'all go to outside doctors. Now, does any of y'all doctors talk about Gulf War illness?
Some of the younger ones do, because they made it part of their training. So I had quite a good doctor prior to COVID and before I came out here to Malta. And he was a little bit up to date, but we're our own advocates, aren't we? Really, we're telling them more than they're telling us. Well, it might be better in the US.
All right, Wade, chime in. I can see them bells ringing.
What would you like to talk about tonight, Kevin?
Well,
are we moving on?
Yep, I'm going to move on to about your topic also tonight.
Okay, so you guys know that I'm Mr. Anti-study, and I'm kind of moving away from that. But so I had no time. I had nothing but time on my hands. So I went back to 2000, and I just started reading through a bunch of studies, just simply on Gulf War illness. And there's a lot of them out there. The one thing that I found in common with just about 99% of them is at the end of them, they all say further studies needed. Further studies needed means further money needed. Okay. You guys have all probably seen here in the last couple days, the newest one that's circulating on Facebook. Gulf War illness may cause increased risk of heart disease and stroke. Well,
yeah.
That really took me for a loop. And after, a lot of people may or may not open that and read it, and there's a link to the actual study on there, and they may or may not open and read that. But I'm a geek and I do. So now I'm going to put this a little bit in perspective here. Basically, what the gist of the article is Gulf War illness, according to the standards by CDC or the Kansas, and that's for a whole nother topic, that you qualify for having Gulf War illness, that you may have the increase of heart attack or heart disease. Well, I'm going to put it in perspective. If I make it to my birthday next month, I'll be 54 years old. That means I will have outlived my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father, and 2 brothers, all because of heart disease. Now, is it because Gulf War illness that I'm going to die young of heart disease, or does it mean I got real shitty genetics?
That's a good point.
That's a good point. I feel that this, after talking to a few guys, I'm just on Facebook about it, I feel that it puts a little bit of a fear mongering out there. I think that that there's going to be a little bit of a big push for to put this on the disability and compensation down the road. I don't think we're ever going to see that. I don't think it really honestly links to it. Personal opinion, which I'm glad that Kevin has given me this format to say. I think your lifestyle has a lot to do with it. I think what we did over the last 30 years to ourselves may or may not contribute a lot to it. There's a lot that veterans can do for themselves to make their lives better, to make their hearts better. I will use myself. I do have a coronary artery calcification. I've been on a statin since I was 40. I'm on high blood pressure. Okay, again, I don't think that this is has anything to do with Gulf War illness of any kind. I don't think it has anything to do with any exposures that I had over there. That being said, if you are a veteran, period, but in particular a Gulf War veteran, if you're over the age of 50, you should have been already evaluated for some type of coronary disease, had your heart evaluation. If you have not, you should probably go to your doctor and have this done. Everybody should have it done. That's just common sense. You know, take care of yourself because they're not gonna take care of you. Females included need to go be evaluated for your heart. Females do have heart attacks as well. This study, let me excuse me for a minute. It says right there are limitations to this study. It does not lead to a cause and effect. At the very bottom of the study, it does go in to say that people do not die of Gulf War illness, but people do die of cardiovascular disease. So basically, what we do exactly, what does that tell us? Okay,
What the hell does that mean?
Myself, I know I'm an asshole. Quit smoking, quit drinking, drop a few lbs, get out and do some exercise. I'm sorry, that's the way I look at it.
And see, and this is where I wanted Gavin on tonight, so he can also hear it from our point. Okay, we have all these studies that is going on, all these studies, and all of them at the end of it, they just need more and more money. So it keeps going on, it keeps going on, and it keeps going on. We get one answer that, like you have, vaccine and Sarah, vaccine injury. Then we got other Gulf War vets, researchers saying sarin gas or that. So here's my person. I agree with you, Wade, 100%. What you put inside your body, all the processed food, all the shit they have with chemicals out there, you need to be your number one caretaker.
Amen.
The VA ain't gonna do that shit for you. Like when they told me, Kevin, you're pretty much stage 2 kidney failure. You better, and I talked to my doctor, drink coconut water, drink this, plenty of water, do this, and this. I've changed that shit up. And now I went up 10 points to back at stage, I'm sorry, I was at stage 3, but now I was at stage, now I'm at stage 2. So it's getting better and better and better because I did what the doctor told me. I bettered my lifestyle.
Well, and taking care of yourself is obviously needed by all. Which, since we're talking medical, I'm going to kind of drift into my a little bit about my medication. So I asked my provider. I went for my annual exam, and she was concerned because I had asked for pain medication because it wasn't lasting it long. I said, "What are you going to do about my pain? Because what you've given me doesn't last long enough." And she was concerned that I was going to get addicted to it. And I said, "Well, you can see my charts. You do my urinalysis. You know I don't have the addiction problem. And you've tried me on other medications, which damn near killed me and sent me to the ER. And perhaps I'm the exception in that one." And I said, "So, doc," because I went into one of the things I had. I said, "Doc, I got pain in my pain here, and I have no understanding, and sometimes it radiates over here." And she just looked at me with a blind stare on her look, and she goes, well, what do you want me to do?" And that was frustrating to me. I said, "What do you mean? What do I mean, I don't even know how I respond because I'm like, you're the doctor. You tell me what I should do to alleviate the pain." She had nothing. She says, "Well, I can send you for physical therapy. I can get an x-ray." And I'm thinking to myself, I understand what we have is undiagnosed, and we all want a band-aid. And she was getting frustrated because she was still concerned about the medication. I said, "Well, doc, if what you're giving me pain medication wise is alleviating my pain when I need it to, and there's nothing else that works, what's the problem with giving me more? I mean, we already have shit in my body that we can't, our government can't acknowledge the issue, because as we were stating earlier, you can't get the doctors to say it's this 100% or this 100% or this 100%, because if they do, they're going to acknowledge that what they did was the cause.
Well, right,
And they don't
exactly,
want they don't want admission.
and
you know?
that's what it's about. Now, Wade, and so Gavin, we do have two different studies of nutrition that is coming out. One in Washington D.C. and Jimmy Costco called me from Florida. And he left me a really good message. I got to call him tomorrow that they're doing virtual studies on dietitian studies for veterans that would go for illness to see if they can improve some of the problems that they're having. And I'm glad they are looking into this, because there is a lot of us that need to be on a better diet. Hell, we're in our 50s, 60s. I mean, I know John's the oldest, but sorry, John, to throw you under the bus. But anyway,
Every damn time.
I know, but I mean,
I got track marks.
but you have, I mean, you do have to take that step to do better. Now, Gavin, so in the UK, do y'all have these type of discussions, like research and stuff
there's
like
been a
that?
few. There's not many, but I mean, this is why I came to Malta, for the better climate. I mean, that's a good thing for us, I believe,
That's good.
with our joint pains and things. And I tend to be a bit yo-yo-y. I mean, I've just not long come back from the UK, and I normally go over there for the summer because it's too hot out here. But yeah, when I'm over here, it's a much healthier lifestyle. You know, you don't eat as much. I fast quite a bit. I find fasting quite good, whether it be 24 hours, 48, or 3 days. That's, for me personally, that works. I enjoy doing that. And yeah, eat less, move more is the basic one.
Less, move more. There you go.
And guess, and
If
so,
If you're able to move more, if your body will let you move more.
well, that's a
Yeah,
good
that's
point. I was about to say,
That's-
I'm about to say something about that, because I'm gonna let Sarah chime in on this part. Sarah, so I heard today, and I didn't believe it, but they said people with neurological orders like neuropathy, their life expectancy is 20 years after they're diagnosed with it. Have you heard about that?
It depends on the diagnosis specifically. Of course, ALS, there's a lot less of a life expectancy, but then you look at patients like, what was the amazing genius that had ALS and outlived his you know who I'm talking
Yeah.
about. So, every patient is different. Every treatment protocol must be tailored towards that patient. And there's a reason why we have a root cause analysis. There's a reason why they are studying so heavily how these toxins are presented in the body, because if you can get to the root cause, if you can understand the chemical that is causing that process, then you can treat it more effectively. And so we've talked about many topics, and I wanted to touch base real quick on what John stated about him not being able to get more medication for his chronic pain. And what I want to state to this, and why it is such a challenge for not just our chronic pain patients, but for so many patients to get medication now, is because of what happened with the Purdue opioid crisis. As a result of the Purdue opioid crisis, it has caused everything to be put on that list of monitoring, and everyone is deemed a patient seeking drugs for whatever reason, and a malingerer, and they're put it on so many different labels instead of seen as an actual patient in need of proper health care. And that is because we lack proper regulatory systems in this country. The reason why people are healthier in other countries is due to the lack of regulation in America. We have more toxic food, we have more toxic air, we don't regulate our environments to ensure our waters aren't toxic, that our people that are around those pesticide filled farms, inhaling all of that, ingesting all of that, are getting cancers as a result of these environmental toxins. America is toxic on many levels as a result of the non regulatory standards that we have allowed in this country. And that is a major difference between why we are so much sicker than so many other countries. And we know by literature and what we have seen to be fact that every country gets different lots because of that regulatory standard. They get different vaccine lots with different ingredients because many countries don't allow different adjuvants and other ingredients in their vaccines. And that's the same thing we saw with the COVID vaccine, which I'm sure is the same thing we have seen with anthrax and other vaccines we have seen with Gardasil, H1N1, and multiple other vaccines across the world. So that is a possibility as to why we have so many more issues here in America, which makes our patients revolving door. Uh,
It's because the pharmaceutical companies own us.
Amen.
we're
And
revolving door patients.
yes,
They're just
the
keeps making them.
the pharmaceutical companies. And Sarah, you had sent out. This has been quite. I don't know. Let's say a month ago. You had shared with me. I was on Facebook and others. We were talking about what we put in our body for food. You sent me. Do you remember, Sarah, what the name of that documentary? It had nothing to do with the military. It's about what's in our food and stuff. Do you remember what that name that was?
I do not. I believe it was on Amazon, but if anyone's interested, I can place it back out there. But
It
yeah,
was really really good. I appreciate. It was I was unaware, quite frankly, in that document, which was made 2014. Again, had nothing to do with the military. Had to do with what's in our food and how horrible here in the United States our processed food. To be quite honest, I'm like you very kindly pointed out, Kevin. I'm the oldest one here, and I was unaware of the crap that's in our food and why our government cheese here in the United States kind of came into play and how the digestive. It's a very easy to watch
that shit ain't
program. So
cheese.
well,
just
That shit
patients for
ain't
profit.
cheese.
We're just patients for profit because when you have
yeah,
a
well,
government that is governed and democracy made for capitalism, we all are just citizens for profit. And when you have revolving door chronic patients that continually to get sicker and never better because they're not promoting the right treatment protocols, because they're not getting down to the root cause, they're just putting band-aids on your symptoms. We have revolving door patients for profit.
No, that's right. And so I got a question, Gavin. So up in the UK, do they have the regulations like the United States has, or are theirs stricter, or are they tougher on what kind of stuff can go inside your food and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was tough. But we were in line with Europe, but since we've left the EU, our sort of regulations are lowering in line with the US. It's been a big problem over here. A lot of people complaining about it. Things like, is it chlorine in chicken? I seem to remember things like that.
Yeah, see, and that's the problem here. Is but this has been happening for years and years. But what it is, it's all about the money. You know what? There's a lot of greedy ass people going to hell. So all you greedy ass people, just stand by. You're all going to hell. And you know, and good luck with that shit because that's how I feel about it. I don't understand why you would put people, it's especially your military. You send these young kids ass out there, fight for your country, to poison them or to let them get poisoned and not tell the truth, lie about it. That's basically what happened to all of us. It wasn't just United States, it was all the countries out there. They knew what happened, they knew what was going on, and they screwed us over. We were their little
How is
shit plates.
how are your they're here in the United States they call it MREs, meals ready to eat. How are yours there in the UK? There,
Sorry,
how are
John.
they,
What was
Gavin? How are your packaged meals in the military? What kind of how are they? Were they when you were in service? You know, we call it MREs because we're
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about food.
Well, it's a long time now. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, not bad. They could be worse.
Yours
Yeah,
weren't bad. Yours weren't bad. Now you're a chef by trade, yes?
yeah, but you don't really call when you're an exercise sort of chef, and it's getting stuff out of boxes and tins, isn't it? It's when you're back on base that you're cooking. But yeah. Oh, going back to your Sarin, the Dr. Haley thing that got, it's all gone quiet on it. We had quite a bit of a discussion with that over here recently with someone, and we looked into it, and there's no reports of anyone with sarin symptoms, foaming from the eyes, burning mouths, and there was no concentrated deaths. So if there's a munitions dump with sarin blown up, the people closer to it, the concentrations, a little bit of pattern, and also sarin is fatal, even in very low levels. If you don't get medication, you're going to die. So all of us in the US, the UK, we've accepted a lot of bullshit over the years from these governments, and we've really not challenged. I mean, Ray there is going into detail. He's obviously he's doing his homework, his research, and he's exactly right when he says about the research. Every conclusion is we need to do more research, and it's just tens of millions for 30 years or 25 years, whatever it is. And the problem is now is they're reliant on it. It's been going on that long. They get all these millions every year, and they wouldn't know what else to do, would they? Really, because that's all they've ever done.
Well, you know what? Well, we really had real researchers that found the problem, but the government just said, "Boop, okay,
They
no,
don't want to.
yeah."
They don't want to acknowledge it.
They ousted them, and that's the problem. And I really I tell you what, I like Dr. Glum. I really like
Amen.
Dr. Nicholson. Them two, I really and truly think that they care for us vets. They know what's going on. They both said pretty much the same thing, but the VA will not acknowledge it. And that's the problem. And that's where my anger is starting to set in right now. So I'm going to back away from what I really want to say because I'm getting pissed off because they suck. They do.
What I
Well,
think we're going to start seeing going forward is, and I think I've heard it. I'm not going to quote anybody, but what I've heard is the funding is where they're gonna nail it. They're going to start cutting back on the studies are going on. Dr. Galam, I was, 6 months ago I was anti-study. I am currently involved in getting ready to take off for the DC study. I'll be involved in 3 studies actively. How the hell I even jumped in like that, I don't know. But Dr. Galams is one of them. The American University. I think the American University. I have high hopes for that. That's diet based.
Yes.
That is the veteran myself. I am the one responsible. I'm the one accountable for what I'm going to be doing and making and putting in my body. If I mess it up, it's on me. Or if I don't do it, if I decide, hey, I'm heading down to Burger King, I just failed myself. So it's up to me. And 30 days, big deal. I quit drinking. I've been over a year. I quit drinking. If I can do that, I can follow a diet for 30 days.
And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for quit drinking.
I'm proud to be sober, man. I mean, it makes a huge difference. I'm just, and like I said, I try not to be a hypocrite. I'm speaking from experience here. And
Yeah.
Screw go for illness. The alcohol is going to kill me faster. So whatever. But
I just wanted to add to that, way to piggyback on what you're saying, is that you do have a even more responsibility to take better care of you because you are now a higher risk. There's a reason why in our 20s we had degenerative disc disease. There's a reason why in our 20s we're having autoimmune disease or whatever pattern of behavior these diseases are occurring. The literature shows that our Go for illness, PACT Act, toxic exposure, vaccine injured patients are at a higher risk and are in need of certain screenings at an earlier age than the other populations. Did that
Well,
make sense?
yeah,
No,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. That makes sense. But I also, well, you know, and I'm not a vegetable eater. I'm not a fruit eater. I started eating though. I started eating a lot of broccoli. I like cauliflower rice. You know, so I'm starting to really look into that. I really start looking to carrots.
Well, carrots sound good.
I'm sorry, I had to say it. I just John turning red up there. Sarah's trying not to bust out laughing. Carrot. We'll tell you about that after the show. Everybody's probably going, "What the hell are they laughing about carrots for?" That's a really good vegetable. Yeah, okay. I don't
Yeah.
think I'll ever eat another damn carrot in my lifetime now.
Oh my God.
But I
Just
mean,
cook it first, you'll be all right.
so right now, Gavin, I want you to hang on tight. Y'all hang on tight. We're about to go into the after the show. Thanks for everybody listening. I hope everybody gets a really good message, especially what's going on over there overseas. And Gavin, I know it's 2:00 in the morning, but hang a little bit tighter because right now we're going to go into the after show. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening to Go For Side Effects. If you have a story or you would like to share or just come on with any comments or questions, please email me at kevinsimon@goforsideeffects.com.